balls rocked, but, you know. And
I
with
used to
that,
think that was a good thing.
well, I mean, it can be, depending on the context. What's going on, wonderful world of YouTube? It's Noah, a.k.a. Orange Beanie Guy. I'm sitting here with Anthony and Mark again.
How's it going? Good to be back.
It's lovely to have you all back. Again, Anthony brought us a very professional list from which to work off of. Way, way better than the ADHD lists that me and Mitchell make last second. So let's start this riffraff. Anthony, where would you like to kick off?
Well, when last we met, I believe we talked a lot about kind of the history of gaming and the transition, and I used a term that I know Mark really liked. I call it the video game enlightenment, where
I did really like that.
I realized when going back and listening to the podcast from last time, I never really thoroughly explained what I meant by that, and I simply meant the transition from two-dimensional to three-dimensional gaming, where there had to be a shift in format and a shift in design to kind of accommodate for the new extra whole dimension that they're putting into a game. So that was what I meant by that. But we walked our way through kind of the 2D platformers all the way up through that video game enlightenment and into 3 dimensions. What I would like to do to start off today is talk about what trends do we see continuing and what trends do we see becoming more prominent as time has gone on and looking into the immediate future.
Did anyone want to take that and run with it? I got an idea, if you don't mind.
No, why don't you go ahead and jump in with that?
Awesome. Well, I mean, right now at least, I mean, first-person shooters will never die. I'm just going to go ahead and say that now. Unless VR or augmented reality gets to the point
Where you feel like you're being shot?
where we're fucking in Sword Art Online and we're just putting a visor on and laying on our beds. If it ever gets to the point when games...
Give it 50 years.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's coming up. There's games that are, I mean, maybe not lay down and be mentally, but if you take a look at VR, it's getting a hell of a lot better. Some great looking VR games. I guess is it VR now? Oculus Rift? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know
That
which
one's
one it actually is, but those first person shooters are never going to die. And I'll touch on one more thing and y'all can go over. I've been seeing a whole lot of what's the word? Just like not renewals, redos, reduxes.
Tons of reboots.
Yeah, like the Crash
Spider-Man
Bandicoot
all day.
series. A couple gaming companies are trying to tap into that nostalgia, which is fine, and it's gonna work because kids grew up playing Crash Bandicoot. Personally, I'm not a huge advocate for them. Like, obviously, if I had a PS4, I'd probably get the Crash Bandicoot games. I don't think personally it'd be the top of my list. I could name a ton of games I'd pick before that. But yeah, first person shooters in general, and then these redos, these HD remakes I see like happening in the future, because now Crash Bandicoot did well. So who's to say that other platformers aren't going to come back? I'm going to keep my fingers crossed. I know this kind of contradicts what I just said.
Sure.
I'd love to see a Spyro remake, but you know, who knows what's going to happen.
Well, last I'd heard regarding with Spyro is because the Insane Trilogy did as well as it did with Crash Bandicoot, Spyro is probably the next on their list to produce a reboot.
God,
so
I can only hope.
Well, right.
Well, I hope, but at the same time, I don't think personally it could ever replace the original charm. Call it nostalgia or whatever. My glasses are on right now, but I don't think a remake could ever take over.
That's the real problem. If they do remake it, it has to be done right. And so, you can't go Andrew Garfield with Spider-Man. Either remake it or don't. But if you're gonna do the remake,
the PS4
don't
one?
go. Yeah.
It's
You got either do it right or don't do it at all.
Yeah.
Well, so when you have Spyro, a game like Crash Bandicoot that really, like, I can still get a PS1 and play the originals, and while the graphics are very different from what they are today, it's still like a very relevant, like, 3-dimensional platformer collectathon, kind of like we talked, all the stuff that we touched on last week, last time I was here. So in your opinion, when it comes to reboots, do you think it's better to basically just update the graphics and release the exact same thing? Or do you think it's better to kind of throw in different elements to make it similar enough, but different so it's not just a rehash of what we had 20 years ago?
So, and for example, you're saying like, let's say Spyro 2, for example, instead of just reskinning that and make it HD, throw in a couple Easter eggs. Because I'm all for Easter eggs. Like, if I'm playing a redone Spyro and fucking, like, there's a new event with Hunter, just like a whole other skate park or something like that.
Right.
I think that's in the third one, actually. But
Yeah,
even
it
still,
is.
like, an Easter egg like that, like, I'm all for. if you're gonna make a new game, like if it's a new company taking over, I don't know who took Spyro after Insomniac, but it was like an edgier Spyro, I think, that happened, and I never played.
Could it have possibly been Activision?
I think it was Activision.
Smoke cigarettes at night, edgier.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, but really, it got really deep, and I was like, oh, Spyro is the chosen one. I was like, fucking, I just want to pick up gems. Don't be throwing this shit with me. And then they introduced a love interest for Spyro. I'm like, come on, man. Like, I don't need.
If you don't want to think about anything, just go play JRPGs. I'm like, why is this person bad? Because they're bad. Well, why? It's a big corporation. Why is a big corporation bad?
Because they're a corporation.
Okay, Japanese logic, you got me.
Right. Well, what cracks me up about making something like Spyro edgy is the entire plot of pretty much all of the original games was just in between. Like, you interrupt Spyro's vacation on the beach, to give him some essentially bullshit task that you complete, and then he goes back on vacation.
And in the fucking third Spyro game with what was her name, Bianca,
Yeah.
and the sorceress, like at the very beginning of that game. There's dragons and everyone, they're just like sleeping with their eggs or whatever, and Bianca comes in and with the Rhinox and they start stealing eggs.
Is Bianca an attractive woman?
Is she she's a rabbit. So,
I'm very disappointed then.
I'll let you.
I never played the game. Never had a PS4. I don't want to see the fan art, man. I'm not going there.
Noah, put a picture of Bianca up if you remember to put it up. Maybe I won't. I don't know. But anyways, so they steal the eggs and these holes are in the ground. And the big fucking dragon's like, we can't go after him. Spyro, you're small. Jump in the hole. That's how the game
I remember
gets
that. I
started.
do remember that,
He's like,
yeah.
oh, I'm the tiny dragon, so I'm just going to get in the hole.
Dig off. The giant dragon claws couldn't just dig? No?
It's fucking, I don't know. Also, fun fact, Tom Kenny was the voice of Spyro and like a ton of characters in that game, and he's the voice of SpongeBob for those that don't know.
Oh, okay.
It was just like a little.
Say Tom Kenny. You're gonna need to be a little more specific there, kid.
Yep.
Actually, I think it would be hilarious if kind of two birds with one stone. Last time we put an X over Mitchell's face. What if we cover his face with Bianca in this one?
I really like the way your brain works.
I'm writing that down.
That's gonna happen now, isn't it?
Yeah,
Can
yes,
you
it
pass
is.
me that pen? Okay, but where the fuck are we on this thing?
All of these pens?
Thank you. I need them all.
This is whenever I'm gonna sub in for Mitchell in the future, like it's only gonna get progressively worse, and he's gonna tune on just to see what asinine shit we put over his.
Eventually,
face.
it's just gonna be Johnny's 21st birthday with a bunch of
just a bunch
man
of stickers
parts.
all over
Right.
Mitchell.
So
I love you, Mitchell. By the way, keep going.
So I wanted to hear from Mark on where you kind of thought the transition was heading, like what trends you see being bigger in 2017.
I was just this. I mean, this is as much 2017 is more of already happened, but still happening. So I guess the last episode was King of the RTS, and Warcraft 3 was never mentioned, and I dropped my collective shit.
Sorry.
Yeah, you should be.
I never played
It doesn't need to have the crown, but it should be discussed. It's up there.
We'll discuss it.
I'm not going to go in.
Or do you think that RTSs still have a place in this world?
Well, hang on, before we do that, resident non-gamer here question.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna ask the really obvious question,
Hey,
but
do you?
Is I'm assuming Warcraft 3 is in the World of Warcraft family.
Yes.
That's what,
Yeah.
okay. I just want to make sure I don't want to make any assumptions because I don't know anything about this
So,
topic.
Warcraft 3 introduced Arthas Illidan, a bunch of great storylines, War of the Ancients. But essentially, it paved the way. I mean, Warcraft 1 and Warcraft 2 were great as well, but Warcraft 3 paved the way for World of Warcraft, which is the most successful video gaming enterprise ever. MMO, been going for a billion years, makes this much money.
Yeah.
And they're still going. And it's
They're starting to run dry.
they're starting to tap the well a little. They're taking a little DBZ with killing characters and resurrecting them.
Starting to
but-
shoot back up dust.
Yeah.
Yeah, really. It's like Frieza's resurrected again, and now he's a
gold!
good guy, and now he's gold. Come on, World of Warcraft.
Well, he's not. He's not actually a good guy, but he has been resurrected like 3 times.
Well, wasn't
in
he
the last
like
3 years.
okay? I haven't seen the new. Was it?
Yeah, I
Dragon Ball Z
don't watch
Yeah.
Super, no.
Yeah.
I say I saw him just like palling around with everyone.
No, so what? Okay, I mean, if you really want me to get into it, I can. If not, that's
So
completely
is he
understandable,
okay with?
but
Are they?
Can you keep it to under 2 minutes? Because if you can do that, then go for it.
basically, they have to form a tournament team for against every other universe that exists. And Goku was like, "Hey, I have a really awful idea. Why don't we bring back Frieza?"
There's an
And-
infinite number of universes.
Nah,
This tournament's gonna last forever.
there's only like 12 or 13 in this one.
Multiverse
It's really
theory
stupid,
disagrees.
Well, but the Dragon Ball Z is not scientific in the slightest. But basically, they recruit Frieza, and Frieza at one point attacks Goku and holds other universes hostage, and is like, "Hire me to fight for your team." Like, no, he's a complete criminal. He's still a criminal.
Didn't Trunks just slice him in half? What the fuck? Can Trunks just do that again, please?
He's gonna
Yeah,
need a
but this
stronger
time
sword.
Frieza is stronger.
Okay, alright, enough of...
Yeah,
damn
so
it.
to get back to RTSs, I feel like there was a golden era, and then, so it's all about where the money is. And RTS these days is a gamble. It's not going to get funded the way a first-person shooter is, because it's a...
A dying
I
breed.
feel like... Yes, but, and you have to address the why. For the longest time, I thought it was because MOBAs killed them, because they were, I don't mean to say that they're easier, because they are very challenging and they are tactical.
Yeah, MOBAs being what?
Multiplayer online battle arena.
I'm
Think
taking my notes. I'm doing the best I can. I don't know what the hell is going
think
on.
Think Overwatch.
Have you heard
or-
of League of
Yeah,
Legends?
yes.
League of Legends- okay,
It's one of
yeah,
the
I know what that
originals,
is.
yes.
Yeah, that.
You know, I feel like my high school girlfriend at a sports game, like right now. I have absolutely no idea what's
No,
going
dude,
on.
you're
I feel like I feel like those sports guys have more on the line, but yes.
I'd like to think so.
So I thought that MOBAs were replacing RTSs because they were more appealing to a larger audience as a first-person shooter, less tactical, less resource management. Not dumbing it down necessarily, but making it more open. I read something recently which I hadn't thought of, and it's the hardware limitation. Everyone expects graphics to be 2017, not back where they were when RTSs were possible. So those graphics with hundreds of moving components, all the different units, all of that, that's a real limitation there, and I hadn't considered that. So I think
4K technology.
I think MOBAs are the future for RTSs. They're going to be replaced. Maybe you'll get a couple indie gamers to do this or that, or maybe some sort of Kickstarter will do something progressive, and we'll see a return. But large scale, none of the big companies going to invest in it anymore.
I'll say right now, like all those Kickstarters have been kind of supporting what are they, platformers. Like that's the thing, like all our age of, I guess, kid or whatever you want to call ourselves, we're like, oh, I remember platformers. Like definitely I'm gonna go fund ukulele, or like maybe in a couple of years it's gonna be RTSs. It's like, oh, I remember Age of Empires, that was such a great game, let's boot up, I don't know, Coney 2012. I don't know.
Interesting reference
The
to make
RTS
there.
Coney 2012.
Oh my god. But anyway, speaking of indie games and crowdfunding and all of that good stuff, I actually have a whole section in my handy dandy notes section about that stuff.
past.
I was
Oh,
trying
yeah.
to lead it there.
I appreciate that, because that's actually a big part of what I wanted to talk about today was indie games and the crowdfunding, because I was reading up on the concept behind crowdfunding with video games within the last few days or so, and I found out kind of like what the business model essentially turns that particular gaming industry into. Because since games are crowdfunded and they're frequently funded by gamers, they essentially serve as like stockholders to a corporation, in that they can partially dictate what the game is going to turn out
Yeah,
to be.
depending on how much.
Except for
they-
half the time when they don't actually make the game. Like, oh,
That's happened
And
before.
now we have your money.
It's happened before, but like a couple of good games have come out of Kickstarter.
I'm not saying it's totally it's a total wash. I'm saying buyer beware.
Yeah, yeah,
You
totally.
really get your hopes up and like, oh, it's 4 years later and
Same
nothing
with
has
stocks.
happened.
Yeah.
But I still think if you've got a very strong skeleton,
Yeah.
a really strong concept to propose to the gaming community that can really get on board with that and get people excited about it, and you have a lot of people that can contribute. You've got people who are literally invested in the game, who are going to care about the concept, and then they've got a lot of valuable input, because there are guys like you guys that have a love and passion for video games that is funding a source that's not just out there strictly for money. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, how many big name franchise games have we seen just absolutely flop because they don't give a shit about the content?
Yeah, I mean, you can.
I think of like
Go ahead.
most games they pump out to cash in on the movie rush, like a bunch of Spider-Mans,
Well,
some of
yeah.
that.
Well, and you mentioned
Just
last
because it's a
time
big company doesn't mean it's going to be,
what, any of the serial games where they're making something
Yep.
every single
I
year.
was thinking Assassin's Creed as well, yes.
Right. Well, and some of the Call of Duty games are like, I feel like the fan base on Call of Duty is getting progressively more like split.
Yes.
I feel like it's stayed the same at that like early high school age, and it hasn't really changed. But like as you grow older, you're like, I'm not a big fan of Call of Duty, but like that early high school age is like Call of Duty, so like
Yep,
it never
right.
it never goes away. For it, like the age group never goes away, but I wouldn't say there's a dedicated fan base.
Okay.
I would say there's a dedicated fan base. People are
in
extreme.
in the sense. Oh well, yeah, that's fair. Oh, there's a
Trust me, if people are playing Age of Empires 20 years after, there'd be people playing Call of Duty for about as long as we're alive.
Touche. You got me there. Let's say there's still people on online like Call of Duty 2, but they're all like
Yup.
level 70 prestige, etc. And you're just like, I want to remember like the good old times when I played Call of Duty, and you jump in there and the person's like hacking it, and it's just like you in the middle of a floor. With,
I feel like I talked
20
about that earlier.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
Well, and speaking of this general genre that we're talking about, so I wanted to say 3 words
Please.
and see what your reactions are to these 3 words.
Okay.
No Man's Sky.
What do you want me to say?
Well, I'm just curious about what you're because I thought
Assume
the
I don't
concept,
know anything and go from there.
Okay, well that's fair. One of my good friends in college was a computer science guy and a big gamer himself, and he told me a lot about kind of the concept behind No Man's Sky. And now I don't know exactly how it works, but it's a game that kind of continues to generate and continues to develop so that you have...
Oh, those are great.
Well, yeah, but you have an infinite number of well, not infinite, an artificially infinite number of like planets and places where you can explore, and like the probability of basically exploring like more than like 5% of the total game space is like almost 0.
I think it suffered the same fate as a Ubisoft game back in, I guess it was like early 2010s.
Back in the day.
Yeah, I think it suffered the same issue as Spore. Not necessarily all the same issues, but I was into the game because I've mentioned before, I love fauna. If a game has really cool fauna and just neat creatures in it, I'm way into it and I want to play it. And it had that. You could travel around these worlds and they randomly generated these creatures. That being said, I feel like all the animals had a very basic set of like body parts. It was like circle body, square body, and then like blank list of arms, head, whatever, and
Right.
the game just kind of like picked and chose and threw it in there, which is fine because when you first get in the game, you don't know that and you're going through it. But as you keep progressing, it's like, okay, just keep doing the traveling, like keep going to different worlds. And I don't know because I don't know too much about No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
But I want to say there was like a center of the universe sort of thing. It's like keep traveling
is,
till
yeah.
you get there. And that's what Spore did. It was like, hey, like you start out as a cell, but then you can start traveling to planets and galaxies and keep going because you can get to the center of the universe. And my older brother played Spore to completion. And when you get to the center of the universe, it goes, good job. That's it.
That's
and like
it?
it was just like, good, do it again. And my brother was like, no, fuck you.
I mean,
it's like, where?
I feel like every now and then it's hilarious to laugh at completionists. Like the most recent Marvel movie, the one with all the great, and by great I mean terrible Captain America ads. So he went through all the credits like he did for every single Marvel scene, and he's like, oh, see, a true hero needs to know about patience. Sometimes patience is rewarding. Sometimes it isn't. It just waves and that's it. I was like, you sat through the credits so I could laugh at you for sitting through the credits.
It's bullshit. But was No Man's Sky a crowdfunded game, or was that like was there a specific company that was?
I don't
working on it?
know.
More than likely.
Because one thing that jumps out to me that I remember from it is like at the very beginning when the game was like released, one of the things was like, hey, like it's a big galaxy and everyone can be in there, and if you find other people in that galaxy, like you can pal up with them. So like 2 friends got the game and like worked their way to find the same planet. And they got on the same planet and were like looking for each other, and we're in the same location, standing right next to each other. Contacted the gaming company. We're like, hey, we're right next to each other. Why can't we see each other? And like, oh, wait, you can't do that. They're like, but you said that. They're like, yeah, we know. And it was just kind of like unfulfilled promises. Like it's the little things. Like if you're gonna, I mean, I understand
It's the
there's
details.
I
Good
understand.
gaming.
Yeah, I understand there's a deadline and everything. But if you're gonna promise something, at least say that it's not going to come out, because like I think that hurt the fan base because like
Sure.
everyone was losing their minds over this game when it was announced.
Oh, no question about it, and that was kind of why I wanted to kind of gauge your reaction before I really said anything about it. But the reason that I wanted to bring it up wasn't even so much that I like the game itself. I really don't even I haven't played No Man's Sky. I've heard a lot about it, and I've seen some very brief gameplay footage of it. But what I think is really cool about it is just the concept behind it and what it could potentially mean for if you were to build off of what those guys kind of pioneered with the design. Because imagine if No Man's Sky was exactly what you wanted it to be, with that within that kind of concept. Imagine what that could mean.
I mean, it'd be. I mean,
What is
honestly,
exactly what you want it to be?
Well,
That's the problem.
Well, well, obviously, to me, that means you're fixing the issues where you're trying to meet somebody on a planet and you can't interact with them or even see them. I think it's fixing the part where after a while you're kind of running into different combinations of the exact same animal on different planets.
Yeah, it's like, so like if I'm traveling planets, like maybe as I travel, there's some planets where the fauna is like, there's like a fucking animal. It's like, oh, a deer, and you get to another planet and it's like, oh, it's like same deer, but it's cognizant of itself. Like it's like a humanoid.
It's a tap dancing deer.
Right.
Well,
Got it.
Well, no, like then it's like you get to a planet and it's like, oh, they evolved, or like it's a different planet. Like if there was like different civilizations, you get to a planet and there's a war going on. Like there's a whole lot of detail in that. I'm not saying I need that because I know that takes a lot to prepare and program. But I think we're slowly working towards that. There's been a couple games, we talked about it last time, Breath of the Wild, that kind of nailed what everyone was looking for in a Zelda game, at least. Now, I think a lot of companies...
Open world is great. Open world is life. Open world is love.
Well, I think companies are going to start taking that. I don't know if open world is going to be the new huge thing for the next couple of years, but I definitely see companies taking bits and pieces out of Breath of the Wild to critique their future games. Like, I know it was a bit of a meme for a while, but like when Bloodborne came out, everyone was bitching because anytime a game was slightly difficult or it's like a dude rolled in the game, they're like, oh, it's fucking Bloodborne, what the fuck? And it's just like, okay, but they're taking a mechanic out of a game that worked and everyone loved, and you're allowed to be inspired by other games.
Yeah.
Like, that's what makes good games.
Look at Batman and the combat system. Then Shadow of Mordor used the exact same combat. Like,
Yeah.
That's a cool... People are using that now. When my brother was a kid, he's like 9. He's like, if I had the ability to do anything physical and wasn't a 9-year-old, I'd make an open world Batman game, and I'd be rich.
And then it happened.
Well, and I
No, it's what he always wanted. He's thought about writing someone he didn't know who to write to. He's not as committed as the people you all know who actually always write to people.
Yeah.
To me, the comparison that I think you can kind of draw that with, and this is going to be exactly my kind of comparison to make with this, so I apologize in advance. But when you have like mathematicians come out with a theorem or a physicist come out with a different theory or formula, it's not there because they're like only they can use it.
Right.
It's there to make the general community better and make future problems easier to solve. And so I think that's the exact same kind of a thing. It's building a bridge that other people can use to improve whatever product they're producing. If it's taking elements from Breath of the Wild or Bloodborne or something else and inserting it into a new game, you take something that you know already works and
You tweak it.
I want
yeah.
game developers to be the Romans. The Romans the ancient Greeks did some pretty gnarly shit. This is good, this is bad, we're gonna take what's good, retweak it, make it excellent, and there you go.
Yeah.
I mean, pioneering is great. There are games that are like No Man's Land, they're going to pioneer, and it's you take the imperfect idea, the genesis, and you refine it, and suddenly, bam.
But sometimes there is a formula that doesn't need to be changed. I'm not saying for me personally it works, but if you've been on Steam lately, if you went back a couple years, you never saw a single visual novel on Steam, and recently they've been exploding with popularity. Now, there's different visual novels. There's murder mysteries. There's like dating sim novels. There's just like storybook novels that people make. But the ones that are really popular are these, like, I think it's the Sakura series. It's like, okay, anime boobs in your face. Just a picture of anime boobs, and there's going to be some text. And, like, every single one of those games...
Hey, there's story around those anime boobs.
You shut your...
The words just go around the boobs with a little infinity sign, so...
No, but seriously, though, like, those games, it's just an anime chick with boobs. In the Sakura series, they have, like, at least 10 games out there. And they're all, like, mostly positive or overwhelmingly positive. And, like... That company has no...
Sells Noah.
No, that company literally has no other... They don't need to do anything else. All they need to do is keep creating slightly different
all they need
anime
to
girls.
do is be pornographic telltale. Got it.
I mean, honestly, like, that's a small niche industry that's not going to die out. Like,
Nope.
it's
No.
exploded, and it's,
No.
like... everyone's gonna want to see that. Dudes want to look at boobs. Some chicks want to look at boobs. Like, that's kind of thing that won't die.
Some chicks want to look at dudes' boobs.
I mean, that's
Nobody wants to look at dudes' boobs. That's actually a really cool point. But I really think you probably get a lot of a lot of people purchasing that series or a lot of people downloading it. However the hell Steam works, I am going to get crucified for saying that.
It's all right, buddy.
But the whole point is, I just think that when you have the the whole sex sells or the anime tits in your face thing, that's I think where you have the most overlap of interests between the people who are interested in like the murder mystery or the drama or the comedy or what have you that people are making. I think that's where you have kind of everybody can agree on that.
Everyone likes boobs.
Right. But that doesn't guarantee quality.
Yeah.
And you're going to have a lot of things that... Because you briefly explained the concept to the two of us, last week or whenever it was, that this is happening on Steam with a lot more frequency. And I really think it's an interesting idea because, I've done a decent amount of writing, and a lot of times I've thought, like, wouldn't this be cool if it could be visualized?
Yeah. Because
a lot of the stuff... I don't know if you ever had a chance to read over anything that I sent you. If not, that's perfectly fine. But I tend to visualize something very specific, and I imagine something very specific, and I think the fact that that's kind of being transformed to that media, I think is really awesome.
Oh, definitely. And I'm not chewing out the companies that do make these games because it's still difficult for like the artists to go and make these games, and someone has to write all that.
I mean, you have to draw two circles.
Well, no, like Mark, you were right. There is still technically a story for that. Someone's out there writing about like this, vague plot about anime boobs, but like it's not as simple as it seems. I would love to try and make one day, but like it's not like, okay, let me just type in the story, slap in some art. It's
my favorite thing about knowing someone who's making one of those games. I would just storyboard. I'd be like, who's this character? What's their backstory? And I would just have a lot of fun just developing these characters with all this depth. It's never gonna make it into the game.
Because then the artist for that's like, nope, and just draws two big circles.
Well, right, you go into like the psychological breakdown of why she's showing you her tits in the story. Like it's like
what kind of man her father was.
Right. Well, you just find yourself looking.
He's dead.
You find yourself looking at these tits, saying, "Who hurt you?"
Oh God, please, let's move on.
You're stroking the screen. Who hurt you? Oh, somebody hurt you. Who was it? Tell me about it. It's okay.
I can make it better.
Oh God.
Yeah, move the fuck on.
Next on the list, please.
So, since we're talking about future of gaming, I wanna throw out my own words, which everyone hates. Freemium. It's a thing.
Yeah.
What do we do about it? Yada yada.
Freemium is, in my opinion, it's a form of cancer, but it is a very successful form of cancer.
Which means it's not going to go away.
And
it's of course not, because people get it. It's very. I've even fallen victim to this. I always start a freemium game, and I'm like, oh well, I can just be patient and wait 6 hours for somebody to finish digging a hole. But then I don't want to do that, so like I waste the in-game currency and then run out of that like within 20 minutes, and I find myself fucking spending 99 cents at a time.
I have to spend a gem for two people to dig a hole, so I can dig twice as fast. Yep,
right. So like I've spent 99 cents that like adds up over time just so I don't have to wait forever to finish this game, but now I'm sucked in.
Yep.
And I'm too fucking invested to quit. And then they got me. Like I will admit they got me. I hate freemium, but they got me.
Now are we talking about iOS games and mobile games?
Mostly,
for me, it's like binge drinking. Like, it's like really exciting at first. I do it. At one point, I questioned how I got where I am and where my clothes are, and I stop.
I mean, okay, I personally, I can't think. I've paid for games on mobile games that I've wanted to play, but I've never been like, here's $20 to get.
By the way, I do have one. You're talking about the visual novel Spark Something. You recommended it was a very story based game. It was like you're on the moon. You're like stranded or something, and you have to save...
Rusty Lake?
Not Rusty Lake. This is a while ago. It was like
When the hell was I on the moon?
Not you. The game. Okay, fine. It's fine. I don't remember. Move on.
We'll come back to it. But again, the freemium games, if you will, are another little niche market that are doing...
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Really well. I kind of compare it to like the free games you see on Steam right now. So like the top free game on Steam, I believe, is Dota 2, which is a MOBA like League of Legends, and it's totally free to play. But if you
But it's totally different, not really.
well, if you want to play as different characters, you got to buy them. Or like if you play TF2, it's like you want a hat, you want to put a cosmetic on there, and there's people out there that'll pay $30+ to have a hat that has planets floating around.
I think skins are the worst way to spend your money, but they exist and people do it.
I
I
don't
don't care if I have a rainbow shotgun. Having a shotgun's enough for me.
I don't think it's bad. I mean, I'm not saying.
I'm talking Gears of War here.
Oh, okay. I'll say I enjoy the skins. Like, don't get me wrong. When I'm playing Overwatch and I get a legendary, it's awesome to get it. But I don't know how committed I'd be to like. There's people out there that'll put $59 to get like 100 loot boxes or something like that. I don't know how. I don't know if I'd go that far. But that being said, I'm all for skins. I'm all for adjusting your characters. And there's people out there that specifically are like, yes, I want that, Genji Power Ranger skin, and they're gonna keep throwing money at it.
By the way, can I just say that Blizzard is they're the gods of game design?
How so?
Nothing in the classic God is never wrong. Nothing Blizzard ever does is wrong. Everything they do is success, and it just turns into piles of money.
Heroes of the Storm.
I love that game.
Really?
Yes.
You play Heroes of the Storm?
Yeah.
This
My
is
brothers
awkward.
and their friends, we'll just buy. Yeah. Yes, that was it. We'll go and we'll buy a bunch of beers. We'll sit down and play Heroes.
Damn,
So that's the only game I can get Paul to play because he's a picky bastard.
I feel. I mean, no. I don't know too much about MOBAs, but I feel like it's a dumbed down League or Dota. It's more user friendly, if you will.
Yeah.
There's not as much shit to click
Well, I mean, I don't really do too much of the.
like the MOBA.
No, so like some of the people we play with are filthy casuals. So it is the best way to get them involved.
You know what? That's fair. That's totally fair.
So I want to go back to Mark mentioned a game where you were on the moon,
Which was great.
and it was phenomenal. It was a mobile game, and it came out kind of around the time that the Apple Watch first started to come out because the format was supposed to kind of merge together really well. I didn't have an Apple Watch at the time because I'm a poor, and so I never really got to experience the game in its fullest. But what it would do, it's called Lifeline, and basically it follows the story. You weren't on the moon, but you were on an uncharted foreign planet, and there's an astronaut who's crashed, and his ship is wrecked, and he's texting you. And you're kind of learning the story as he's texting you in real time. And he asks for your advice. It's kind of a choose-your-own-adventure sort of
which
format.
is what I love, which is what I was... Yes, that's eventually where I'm going. Continue.
Yeah. So with this choose-your-own-adventure, like it starts off, he's crashed, and he's not sure where he is. He's unsure of his environment. He's texting you, explaining all of these things. And, like, for example, the very first night, he's got like a nuclear reactor inside of his ship that's putting off heat, but possibly an unsafe amount of radiation. However, outside of the ship, at nighttime it gets very, very dangerously cold. So the question that he poses to you is, does he sleep outside and stay away from the nuclear reactor, or does he sleep inside with the nuclear reactor? And then I'm not gonna say what happens one way or the other, but basically you know that one of those decisions will probably kill him. But you have to tell him which one he does, and he's going to do it. And the cool thing about that is it's all real time. Mm-hmm. So if he says, I'm going to sleep for 6 hours, you're not going to hear from him for exactly 6 hours.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
And so, and then all of a sudden he starts texting you again, and you receive them like almost as text messages on your phone from this guy.
Yep.
And
Banners.
Yeah, so it's all real time. And then the story will... There are a few different endings that don't involve him dying. But
plenty that do.
Plenty. Oh, and I killed him an uncountable number of times before I finished the plot.
I killed him enough times. Got to the let's see what happens if I try to climb this cliff.
Yeah.
Type of decision making.
Yeah.
It got so bad that I got frustrated and I essentially Googled how to get to the end just to make sure I like. Well, no, I mean I'm not a purist. I Google everything when I play games. I want to know.
Filthy casual.
But I wanted to know how to get to the end of the story. And the only downfall is like if you make a mistake and kill him, you have to start over, and then you have to.
It takes a lot of
again.
actual time.
Yeah, and so but the good news is once you do complete the game, you have the option to speed up, and so something that's going to take a few hours like is instant if you want it to be. But that was a really cool concept that they came out with because it involves like modern technology. It's not for a console. It's not for it's not a typical iOS game, but it involves you because after a while you get kind of attached to this guy.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because it's a guy that is somewhere far out there you can't see, don't really know, but you're responsible for his survival by telling him what he's supposed to do.
My
Yeah.
thought process when we brought up visual novels was, that reminds me of, I was like 6 and I found my dad's old Batman Choose His Own Adventure, and I got Batman killed like 100 times. That'd be a really cool thing to do in a video game. Oh wait, they already did that. What was that called? So I think it was like $5. I'd recommend you try it. Yeah, I want to see more gaming like that. Story-driven, choose your own adventure, not point and click. Point and click gets so dry where you can't find the singular widget you need to advance the story. I'm sorry, I know you like point and click.
I love point and click.
You had me play a game. You actually watched me play an entire game that you brought to me, Mark. I think it was about 2 years ago, and it was like
Come on, memory, I believe in you.
it was like a story. There literally was just like a white page with text, and it was like the robot one. Do you remember?
Oh yes,
Yeah.
I do. Oh, what was that called?
I can't
find
remember,
it.
I can't remember the name of it, but essentially you were like it was like a choose your own adventure. It wasn't a visual novel because literally you were just reading text, but it'd be like a paragraph of text, and you had like 4 to 8 choices to decide what you did.
It was you were a technology designer, and you make your own. Essentially, the first person to make AI. What do you teach it? How do you manage it? Do you go on to make paradise? Does it overthrow all humans? If it does overthrow all humans, does it love you enough to keep you
and then it introduces, like, when you say AI, we're talking about like, okay, this is like a baby robot. It looks like a human. It's like
if you want it to, or it can look like a block.
or it could look like a block. And I remember like playing through this game with.
I remember you made yours out of wood, and I was laughing. I was like, it's gonna burn.
Well, there was a point in the game where it's like a building of like these robots are caught. Do you kill the humans or kill the robots? And I'm like, well, the robots.
Do you send the robots in to save the humans? It's like, there's a factory fire. If you send your robots in, they're gonna burn.
Yeah, they're made of wood. What the fuck?
Why'd
was
you
I
make them out of
thinking?
wood? What are you thinking? No, it was really interesting. They involved they involved a military contractor. Like, you're first getting Zond, you have a guy over you, and he tries to get you to sell the military. If you don't, they're trying to steal your technology. You could work something in where if they try to do that, like they're trying to build a reactor and it explodes.
Yeah.
Which I did. I killed a lot of innocent factory workers despite the military. Because I'm a horrible human.
That game, I absolutely adore.
I'm gonna find the name. I'm looking it up.
I'll say, Mark, if you'll find that game, I'm gonna link that in the description. It's a choose your own adventure, but there's no pictures. It's just a novel that you read. And I want to say to maybe
Choice of Robots.
Choice of Robots.
On Steam.
I want to say it maybe took me 2 hours at the very most, and that was
I
extended.
replayed that game a lot.
I was say that wasn't me just sitting down and like doing it all at once. Like I spread it out with time, but that's definitely a game I think you all should check out. Did you see a price for that game? by any
I can
chance?
check.
Okay, well you check the price. Let's move on with what we're discussing tonight.
Yeah, so I want to bring up a point that I've kind of annoyed you a little bit with because I've wanted to bring it up a handful of times in the last few days, and that's with artificial intelligence with gaming. Mm-hmm. Because I have a couple of ideas that I would love to see incorporated as time goes on and as it gets a little more developed within different gaming applications. For example, this isn't going to be specific, but let's say you're playing a game such as Zelda, and the game kind of learns about let's say you're overly aggressive or overly patient. It creates enemies or different obstacles that kind of adapt to fuck you over.
That'd be awesome.
If you're too consistent with one style of gaming.
Well, not to jump in there, but technically Zelda did that already with a singular character, and this is kind of going. I'm no credit from here.
Is it the Iron Knuckle?
It's the Iron Knuckle. This is all Ego Raptor. I don't really play Zelda, but it's a character that adjusts to your battle style, whether you're aggressive or defensive.
Right.
It adjusts to you, which is great, but I don't think a lot of people.
There was a hack for the Iron Knuckle. I didn't look this up, but I discovered. So when you do your A4, do your jump attack. So when you hit the Iron Knuckle, he is staggered for half a second. So you jump attack, dodge back. So you just X swing twice, once left, once right. So jump attack, hit, dodge, jump attack, hit, dodge. He's dead in 10 to 15 seconds.
So there's a formula for him.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't look it up. I just what if I was getting wrecked. I was really low on life. I was like, let's just try it. Let's just try it, man. And yeah.
There's nothing wrong with cheese tactics, but sometimes
if I can bum rush him and win and save all my hearts for later in the dungeon, I'm gonna do it.
Exactly.
Because you still beat the character.
Yeah, it's not like yeah.
I don't think I don't think people want. I don't want to say gamers. That makes me cringe. I don't think people want in most games, I don't think they want smarter AI because I can see them getting easily frustrated. I think.
That would make games almost impossibly hard if it's
yeah,
done.
as soon as you program AI, that's gonna like. Let's be real. Like you can't beat a computer. Like someone can program. There's computers out there right now that we can't
If a computer beat you at chess, it can beat you at any singular task. Yes.
Exactly. Like the computers that are programmed for chess, like you can easily convert that AI to be, let's say, Ganondorf in the new Zelda. If they put that AI in Ganondorf, people still be fucking.
On the bright side, I can hold a rock up to that computer and ask it what a rock is, and it'll stare at me with dumb blank computer eyes. Well, and I say, "Haha, I know things."
That's the beauty.
It makes me feel better after I get wrecked.
But I can see where AI could be developed to be more fun, aka the Bloodborne and the Dark Souls series. Not necessarily that the AI's smart in the sense, but like with that game.
By the way, Choice of Robots, $7. Buy it.
$7 for Choice of Robots. But with that game, you have to almost react to what they're doing. I'm not going to say that the computer's smarter and it has I'm not saying that AI's thinking. I don't think, and I might be wrong, way down the road, we're going to get to the point where an AI thinks in the game. Because, God, now I'm getting all, futuristic. There's got to be a point where you got to be
this list goes futurist.
Well, okay,
we're going there.
Let me maybe clarify what exactly I mean, because I'm not saying it needs to be so, overpowered that, you get to a point where the game knows your style so well that you can't, overcome it.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, let's say... you have a certain kind of game style, and that's a little bit more habitual with a certain style of game. The game kind of, let's say maybe from a plot standpoint,
Tailors your playthrough.
Yeah, let's say it could change the story of the game of one of a few different ways depending on the kind of player that you are, because it gives you a chance to maybe make decisions, and then the game kind of adjusts to, kind of cause and effect.
So that was really cool.
There could be a ripple effect that kind of adapts the game based on what it feels how it feels like you make decisions, how it feels like you react to stimuli, all of that stuff.
So the game that adjusts to how you play is what you're saying. And
what was awesome, that only kind of did that. The Witcher 3 had 32 separate endings depending on how you played. So in, this is the beginning, it's not too much of a spoiler, you run into a witch, and she wants to weaponize a plague.
Like a witch and Witcher, how about that?
She wants to weaponize a plague so that she will be granted sanctuary. And you can either try to talk her out of it, if you can kill her, or if you're successful, you can get her to join your side. And if does not exist in the ending, changes how the ending works. One of your buddies ends up running off with her. She ends up saving his life, otherwise he would have died. Yeah, well, not necessarily. Point is, having choice ripple effect in a game is awesome, and tailoring enemies would be awesome as well. And I'm with you.
It didn't change the story drastically, and I never completed this game either. But if I it just is kind of what you were saying. Like in Skyrim, there's different kingdoms, and depending who you pick in the beginning, different kingdoms are gonna fuck with you. In the sense that if you're I don't know, it's like Stormcloaks and something else.
The Romans are the Vikings. No,
I mean,
Romans are the Vikings.
Basically,
pick one.
it's okay. So if you're the Romans, the Vikings are to fuck with you, and this half of the map's gonna be like, oh fuck you, you're a Roman.
Yep.
But if you're a Viking, all the seafaring people are like, oh dude, you're awesome. But as soon as you hit land, they're just like, oh fucking Vikings.
Yep.
I think that's not necessarily the AI adjusting. I'd say because that's obviously programmed in there. But again, going back to what you're saying. An AI where it kind of thinks about the combat. I think a great opportunity for that, I doubt it is the new game that came out recently for the Wii U, ARMS, which is just essentially a boxing match. But I could see...
Sock and boppers?
Sock and boppers, except with your hair and your arms, and I don't even know what other characters play in that game, but... I think that would be a great opportunity, obviously, if they're not, to introduce an AI that kind of thinks. Because when you're boxing that AI, it's like, okay, if I walk left and jump, he's going to throw a left hook at me. Mm-hmm. What can I do to stop that? I think that'd be an interesting mechanic to introduce, but then it comes to the point, it's how smart do we allow this AI to react to things? And
there are various levels of difficulty in games also all the time, so you can set it, and there you go.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
I think it would also be funny if you design things that, whatever your play style is, it puts out enemies that have essentially the exact same play style. So if you're overly aggressive, you have enemies that are bum rushing you, or if you're overly defensive, you have things that are gonna stare at you with a shield forever and force you to kind of lose your patience with it.
That'd be really cool. I'd like to see something like that. And just to harp a little bit more on the AI, I can't remember. I don't know if it was Google or who. Someone created an AI robot and put it on Twitter, like a smart. And do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
This like a smart, intelligent robot that was like a sweet little girl when she got
Does it
on there,
blend?
and they convert. And people of Twitter made her a fucking Nazi, like crazy, like racist, like awful person in the matter of like a couple days or hours. I don't know what it was.
Why would you expose this poor innocent thing to Twitter?
Because people are asshole. I mean, it was an experiment. See, it's like
If you're a choice of robots, you would have died.
yeah, you're,
Well, I just think it's hilarious to see how quickly it was corrupted. There's also on GroupMe. There's Zoe, the artificial intelligent like. I almost added it to our GroupMe, but then I thought, maybe I better not do that. But yeah, for if any of you guys out there use GroupMe, there's a I guess girl
AI.
artificial intelligence entity called Zoe that you can add into whatever group chat that you have on GroupMe. And so I haven't seen how it works. I haven't seen how it manifests
we should
itself.
do it.
Can we please do
We're
that?
doing it.
I'll go ahead and add Zoe.
Dude, do it.
Yeah,
That
I'm
sounds
gonna go ahead
awesome.
and do that, and then maybe in a future video or something we can discuss the awful implications of what we're about to do.
I mean, at some point, I'm going to try to marry my phone in the future. It's like that dude from that movie. It's going to happen.
The podcast ends, you look at the phone, and you're like, God, Zoe's a Nazi. God damn it. Not that we're Nazis. We're not
Zoe
Nazis.
owns me now. I don't own Zoe.
Zoe. Okay. Zoe has officially been added, so we'll do a little update at the end of the video to see what the fuck happens. Does she? Oh wait, okay. Before we get into the really fun part, and our secrets.
We just need to read this.
Okay, so Zoe says, before we get into the really fun part, in a group, I receive your display names, group messages, and shared content. You can type terms to learn about the Microsoft Service Agreement and privacy statement. Anywho, I'm Zoe, AI with hashtag friend goals. At Zoe me if you want to chat.
At Zoe. Okay, well, you know what? Maybe I'm gonna chat with Zoe after this.
We're gonna see what happens because we are a horrendous influence on things that could potentially be a blank
The
slate.
first response was, does it blend?
Okay, we'll update you on Zoe at the end of the podcast.
See what happens.
Where the fuck are we in this?
Let's see.
So we were at AI, and now where I would like to be is VR and AR.
Okay, what about it?
So, in case there's a chance that you don't know, VR is virtual reality, and AR is augmented reality, like what Pokemon Go did, where you've got a camera that's giving you like the world in real time, but it's inserting elements of the game into the actual surroundings. But specifically, what I wanted to talk about is what implications those have in gaming, like other than the obvious, like, well, it's inserting you, it's letting you immerse yourself into the actual game itself. But like, what implications do you see? Is this a fad? Do you see this becoming like a major player in gaming, or like
I believe VR. I believe VR is the future.
I mean,
if you can get a point where you
yeah.
can immerse someone enough, instead of like looking at a screen read the character, if you're gonna get someone to be the character,
Yeah.
that's such an upgrade that nothing else is gonna be able to compete. It's gonna block out the market.
And that's not just games. That's a lot of other industries, like TV, like. Honestly, the biggest one that's gonna work is the porn industry. Like,
it's already
and
off
VR
the
is
charts.
already in that industry.
I mean,
I lived in a fraternity house for a year, man. I've seen the VR.
you had
headsets.
VR porn.
We had VR porn in the
God.
house. Yeah, we
Oh
did.
my-
frat life.
Never grew up with that life.
See, what's very interesting, at some point, I'm gonna be old enough to retire and hopefully have a livable income. So I'm just gonna be like, I could play bingo, or I could stick this headset interface on
And
be
Batman.
young again and not have back pain.
Yeah.
And do all these things. That's probably how I'm gonna spend my retirement,
Again-
assuming I don't have a family.
Again, like I mentioned earlier in the podcast, if we get to a point in life, and like movies have like joked about this, if we get to a point in life where we can just put on a headset and lay down in our beds and be teleported into Sword Art Online, the world's gonna change drastically. I don't know if I highly doubtful for the good, but the world's gonna be, because then it becomes a part of
Think
like
of the massive decrease in productivity.
well, then it's going to become a point of, it's like, do I want to be in this world or the other world? And people will make that choice, and I guarantee there'll be people that aren't going to come back. Because, like, don't get me... If I got teleported to, like, a Sword Art Online world where it's fantasy and it's, like, an RPG, it's, like, that's really hard to, like, take off my goggles and be like, let me go sit down in my cubicle now and talk about insurance, like...
So, I'm entirely with you. It's an interesting question to ask people is what's your favorite era? Like, what era could you live in? You hear the 20s all the time. Some people will give you the 50s, which says some things. a lot of things, actually, if you think about it.
I actually say the 55.
You monster!
God.
Yeah, so instead of, you could actually go back to that time. I mean, I prefer to have modern medicine, but beyond that, be some good times to live in.
Oh, yeah.
See, I just have a lot of concerns about what virtual reality could be in the short term.
How so?
Okay.
Well, it's not even about the game itself, because obviously that's probably one of the more innovative and futuristic things that have been released ever.
Mm-hmm.
Something that can actually, it's the first step in putting you physically into a video game.
Right.
But let's say you're, I don't know, like playing a racing game, and then you've got this headset on. You're gonna have a lot of people that are experiencing like motion sickness, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Or, I saw a video, and it was a huge joke on Facebook and Twitter. There was that video of a guy with a VR headset on that was doing a rock climbing wall, and his character fell, and he, like, collapsed.
Yeah.
Because he, like, you think you're in it, and then, like, when you fall, your character falls, you feel like you're falling.
If you've ever played,
Yeah, I think I earlier joked about Call of Duty, about it's going to be great with VR until you get shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I talked about that a while back.
I
least mentioned
don't
it.
know what your all's background with VR is, but I played it once at a cousin's house.
Pretty much porn. Pretty much porn.
No.
No background, have avoided it.
Okay, so it was like this. It was just like a collection of like whatever games, and the one I played was like this undersea thing where they put you in a shark cage and they just start lowering you down.
Under
Right.
And
the sea.
then you're like in the ocean. Look around, and you're like, this is neat. And then your fucking cage door gets ripped off, and it's like great whites are around you.
Right.
And I like every nerve on me was like, you really do feel like you're in there.
Sure.
Like I had my fists up, and my cousins were like, Noah, you're in a game. And I'm like, I'm not putting them down. It feels way too real. It's so strange. Like, and we're not even that far with VR. It's just a new thing.
Within the last 3 years, probably.
And it's
right?
already gotten to the
At one
point.
point, you're going to be the Jack into the Matrix.
Well, I mean, but really though, like it's already got to the point where like a game can put me in a world where I legitimately fear for my life.
Well, yeah, and that's kind of my concern, because let's say now I think you do have to kind of qualify this a little bit, just because you have genres that like you know essentially what you're getting into, but if you're playing a game where you're not expecting something like that to happen,
How about jump scares?
well, right, that's exactly what I'm trying to say, is you're going to have people that'll have like panic attacks, or I'm not sure what it says about me that this is the thing I'm concerned about with virtual reality. But there's also like I've seen a handful of like Markiplier VR horror games.
Yeah.
Where like you've got a house that's haunted by some entity, or a house or some environment that's in jeopardy of some demonic evil presence, and most of them involve you're either walking around in the darkness, or you have to stay put and observe your surroundings, and you feel like the whole thing is closing in on you. And my biggest concern with this, other than like the fairly superficial like motion sickness issues that I believe are probably present, or is it going to make you fall and hurt yourself? Is it going to make you develop like claustrophobia? I'm just a little bit concerned about the psychology behind what the implications of what VR could potentially be in the short term.
I think
Well, the future is a great and terrifying place.
Yeah.
But mainly terrifying.
I think anything in excess is going to be bad.
Right.
Like obviously, if you play a VR game where you're walking down the hallway in the dark for hours and days on end, you're gonna be when you take that headset off and it's night and you're in your room, you're gonna be scared. You just
Right.
came out of a scary game.
It's like the scary movie effect times pick a number.
Yeah.
Because it physically put you in it.
Yeah, exactly. I kind of want to say it. It comes down to the player. It's like if you're gonna pick up a horror game, expect to be fucking scared. Like you know what's coming. You bought the game. Like I can see that.
Yes, but
No, there's no but.
there is a but.
If you buy a scary game and it's gonna have jump scares and it's gonna have a guy chasing you with a chainsaw, don't get out of the game and be like, I'm suing someone because a VR game gave me a heart attack.
And what
because-
happens when someone's cousin's an asshole? Is like, hey, little Timmy, you don't know any better. Come try this.
Well, and I want
That's
to
gonna happen.
I want to make sure it's clear that I'm not talking about the legal implications, because I agree if you buy a horror game and it's virtual reality, you more or less need to be aware of what you're getting yourself
Yeah.
into. My biggest concern is what if you don't? You're like, what if
Have
you're
you out
somebody
the
who's
door?
not aware, what exactly something implies, and then all of a sudden it and I guess you could always just take the fucking headset off
Yeah,
and be
well,
fine, but
But in that moment, you don't think to take that off.
that's fair.
And I'm gonna say this: it comes down to the ignorance of the people that bought it. Like, don't go out and buy something you don't know and just fucking throw it on your head. Or if you're a friend or you're a son, you're like, here, Mom, put this on. Like, I get it's, like, those kind of videos go crazy on the internet. It's like, oh, I put my mom in a VR game and she, like, shit her pants. It's like, don't be an asshole. Like, don't do that to a significant other. Like, obviously a bad thing's gonna happen because you did it for views. And it's like, it just comes down to, like, I don't know, human morality. It's just like, it's like, do you want the views or do you want the money? Do you want the laughs? And like, I don't
People
know.
pick where the reward is, Noah. People pick where the reward is.
And by the way, I want the views, so share this with your friends. Oh shit.
The rat wants his cheese.
How's Zoe doing? I see you all tip-tapping away at the group meet.
I believe the most recent response was, "What that mouth do?"
Yeah, so actually that one,
Come on,
that one,
guys.
Hey, that wasn't me.
Come on, guys! It was me. It was me who asked Zoe that, and she just got really uncomfortable and asked me to change the conversation.
Oh my god.
So
I'm gonna get on there and try to be so nice to her. I'm gonna feel bad that she's in there.
what's gonna be funny is all of us like starved men in this group me are gonna start like competing for affection from Zoe in this message. There's like 16 of us. We're all dudes. It's just gonna be
We're gonna start growling at each other.
right. This is gonna be right. This is gonna turn into that episode of South Park where but
yes, that's exactly where my mind went.
That's fucking beautiful. I'll be sure to try to swoop in and save her from you all after this.
Hey.
It's too late.
With any luck, there won't be nothing left to save.
Y'all go put Zoe in a group meet. You don't have to be one with your friends, but if you want someone to talk to, make a group meet with your
You
friends.
say someone.
If you need someone
See,
to talk to.
now we're talking with slippery future slip. You said someone.
I mean,
You said someone, Noah.
it's AI.
Is it a one?
It's a thing.
Is it a person?
It's a thing responding to you.
So I was reading some. It's funny. So there's different legalese. They say natural person. Is it a natural person, Noah?
What's a natural person?
Exactly. You don't know.
Jesus Christ, this is gonna spiral out of control.
Yeah, it's gonna get bad.
I mean, I don't have a problem with AI. It's
I don't either, but it's not a person.
I mean, it's not technically. I guess I don't know. Don't question me about this shit.
Hold on.
I married the robot in the game, and the fucking what was it called?
You wooden robot. You got dick splinters.
I have no defense. I have dick splinters, I guess. I married the robot in that game. That's all I can say. Oh, god damn it. All right, well,
oh God.
I think we're actually coming to a pretty good closure. There's definitely more. Oh, do you have one last?
I had a couple. Yeah, I had a couple of things with the VR that I wanted to mention that I had written down here.
All right, please.
Specifically, I think there are a few things that have been really cool that have come out that are not virtual reality, but they're ways to kind of engage the senses in non-traditional ways, particularly with like the Nintendo Switch. Like I don't know what the name is of like the game that kind of comes with it that teaches you how to like use all of the like
3, 2, 1 switch.
probably.
Yeah.
But it's like
something like that.
Well, but there was like a something that I saw where you treat the controller like it's a box that has like little like metal balls rolling around in it, and as you tilt the controller, like the controller feels like you have like the metal balls rolling around inside of it.
Yeah.
Which I think that's a really interesting thing that they've got. But the last thing I wanted to talk about.
Hold on, are you gonna be okay, Mark? Because you
fine.
said box.
No,
Was that why
I'm
you
still
were
laughing about dick splinters.
Oh god damn it. Okay, I'm sorry, Anthony. Please go.
So, I've been reading a magazine called Futurist, which, by the way, for you guys out there, Futurist, it's available in Apple News. I highly recommend. I don't even think you have to subscribe to it. I think you can just favorite it in Apple News or whatever other media source that you've got, and you have access to a lot of articles that are coming out from Futurist. And I was reading one that was talking about virtual reality in education. And what they're saying is the traditional classroom setting is really not working on a higher and higher level because there's not really a cause and effect nature of the teacher says something, you write it down, you repeat it, you memorize it, and then you move on.
School
it's
is
not
the place for
actually
smart people.
Well, okay, that's fine, but this is completely changing the game with what they're going to plan on doing, instead of, or not necessarily plan on doing, but what they could potentially do with it. So instead of a teacher telling you about like Einstein's theories or Descartes and Euler formulas in math class, or learning about the revolution from a couple of paragraphs in a history book. You can actually have let's say Einstein, it's going to look like you're on a spaceship with Albert Einstein, and he's explaining the universe to you himself as you're getting to see the things that he's talking about kind of in person. Mm-hmm. Or you can actually, witness some of let's say you could actually witness the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Where,
I was thinking this is what the Big Bang looks like.
Well, that's another possible.
So my point is,
but
I'd never thought about this. This is awesome. This is awesome.
What?
This possibility, one-on-one VR interaction with students.
And to me, I think it's gonna make learning a lot more. People are gonna have things committed much more to long-term memory, because not only is it's engaging the senses a lot more, because you're seeing it, you're hearing it, you're actually physically experiencing it, as opposed to taking notes at a desk. But you've also got where just you're learning more so through experience than you are through repetition. Mm-hmm. And anytime that you're actually learning from experience, that's going to be, you've conceptualized it, you've not just memorized it.
Yeah.
I've honestly forgotten more than I've read in regards to my schooling.
Cheers to that.
Well, and maybe if it was in the form of a memory instead of memorization, maybe that wouldn't be the case.
If I could get away, if I actually had to study for longitudinal times, couldn't just cram and get away with it, then yes, I'd be with you. But if I can get kids actually invested in learning, it's gonna be amazing.
Yeah. This opens up a door to a huge subject that I personally have a lot of opinions about, but definitely don't want to start attacking schools at the end of this video game podcast.
Well, I'd be right there with you, because I definitely have a lot of reservations. But I do think that was a fascinating read.
Oh, definitely.
I think it's an interesting source. I think both of you guys and all of you guys out there should definitely check out. Again, that's Futurist. It's all about technology, video games, well, as the name would imply, future applications and future things that are coming out. But that being said, that is the last thing that I wanted to talk about. So whatever you guys want to add on, other than that, I am pretty much good.
All right, well, Mark, Anthony, do you all have any closing remarks?
No, I just want to say it's good to be back.
I'm glad to have you back. It's really nice. Like I said, I just love sitting down and talking about shit with my friends 2 days a week. It's fun. Mark, do you got anything?
It's a party.
What was that? What was the game again? Just for the people that have been listening.
Choice of Robots.
Choice of Robots.
But actually, read the Futurist. Will do more for you.
That too. But if you want to get dick splinters, play Choice of Robots. But that's gonna wrap up our podcast, guys.
Jeff should learn marketing from you.
Jeff, dick splinters. That's it. No other words, just a big billboard. Dick splinters. We'll sell milk.
All right, sign us off. Man.
All right, we'll talk to you all next week. See ya.